The Shadow Crown, Rise of Devika, the Flamebearer. Many years had passed since the hero Veerendra had vanished in a blaze of divine fire, having slain the terrible Ajgarash and shattered the cursed gemstone Raktanetra. Surajgarh had flourished again. The rivers that once boiled now babbled joyfully through green meadows. And the golden palace of King Dharmavir stood tall once more. Songs of peace filled the markets, and stories of Veerendra, the valiant, were sung to children under starlit skies. Yet, peace is like a fragile diya in the wind. Beneath the sands of Kalmrityu Desert, something ancient began to stir. In the sacred temple of Jwalamukhi, where the eternal flame burned for centuries without fail, High Priestess Devika knelt in meditation. Her long dark hair was braided with strands of red thread, and her saffron robes shimmered faintly from the reflected firelight. Her chants, low and rhythmic, kept the flame steady. But tonight, something was wrong. For a fleeting moment, the flame flickered. Devika's eyes snapped open. The sacred fire had never flickered. Not once. Not even during the serpent siege of Surajgarh or the eclipse of the twin moons. Her breath caught. Something was awakening. That night, as the wind howled like a beast outside the temple, Devika saw a vision in the flame. A black crown, twisted and smoking, placed upon the head of a figure cloaked in ash. The sky turned red. The rivers stopped flowing. And in the heart of darkness, a familiar hiss echoed. Ajgarash? But the serpent was dead, wasn't it? Far in the west, deep beneath the ruined shrine of Kalbhairav, a hooded figure stood among shards of the shattered Raktanetra. His name was Mriganka, a once revered priest of Vani, who had been exiled for daring to bind divine fire with human will. He had waited patiently, biding his time beneath the earth. Now, with the fragments of the cursed gem reforged into the Kalkiran, the Shadow Crown, he claimed the power of forgotten gods. With one word, he raised a sandstorm that buried 3 villages. With another, he awoke dreamwalkers from the tombs of the ancients. And in his dreams, he saw the flame of Jwalamukhi falling. Devika stood before the council of sages. "I must leave," she said, her voice calm but firm. "The Kalkiran has been forged. I saw it in the flame." "You are not a warrior," the eldest sage protested. Nor was Veerendra, not until the fire chose him. Carrying only the prayer beads of her mother, the crystal vessel containing the ashes of Veerendra's anklet, and a satchel of sacred herbs, Devika left the temple alone. Her first destination, the Marubhumi Labyrinth. In the Marubhumi Labyrinth, Devika faced illusions of her deepest desires. She saw Veerendra, alive and smiling, offering her a life of quiet joy by the riverside. Tempted, her hand reached for his, then paused. Her voice broke as she whispered, "You are not him." The illusion shattered. In the caverns of Kundalini, the twin-tongued Naga guardians tested her resolve with riddles. What burns but does not consume? What feeds but is never full? She closed her eyes and replied, "Faith." The ground shook, and the path to Ashmaya opened. Within the heart of the dormant volcano, she stood before the last living ember of Agniresh. The fire spirit, a lion of smoke and gold, emerged from the molten rock. Why do you seek the flame? Not to burn the world, Devika said, but to light the way. The lion roared and flames consumed her, but instead of death, she felt rebirth. She emerged wearing the tilak of Jwala and wielding the Trishakti staff, a relic born not from metal, but from devotion, memory, and fire. Mriganka had claimed the fortress of Rajatgiri and cast a sleep curse upon Yugveer, grandson of King Dharmavir. Dreams of despair clouded the skies, and no army dared march. But Devika walked into the storm. Her chants pierced the illusion-clouded walls. The Trishakti staff burned through cursed fog. When Mriganka appeared, cloaked in a tornado of shadows, she did not flinch. "You are Flame's failure," he snarled. "I am Flame's will," she replied. Their battle shook the heavens. Mriganka summoned the ghost of Ajgarash, but even the serpent's shadow recoiled from her light. Just as he struck to kill, a familiar voice echoed, "Devika." Veerendra's spirit stood beside her, not as a warrior, but as a guide. Together, they shattered the Kalkiran with the final invocation. Agnirashaya Namah. Surajgarh awoke from its nightmare. Yugveer rose from his cursed sleep. The skies cleared. Devika returned to Jwalamukhi, not as a priestess, but as its guardian. The temple now bore two statues, Veerendra, sword in hand, and Devika, staff raised high. And on quiet nights, when the wind is still, the fire whispers stories of two lights that burned away the dark. One was the fire. The other, its bearer. Devika and Veerendra were remembered not merely as heroes, but as legends woven into the soul of Surajgarh. Every year, the Festival of Twin Flames was held at the Jwalamukhi temple, where fire lamps were floated on rivers, symbolizing the unity of courage, Veerendra, and wisdom, Devika. Devotees would chant, "Anirashaya Nama, Jwala Devika Swaha," meaning, "To the Lord of Flame and to Devika of the sacred fire, we offer light." Bards sang of Veerendra's valor, a humble farmer who became the serpent slayer, and Devika's resolve, the woman who walked through illusions, answered riddles of ancient serpents, and stood unshaken before a god of darkness. Children's bedtime. Tales often began. When the fire flickered and the world held its breath, a priestess stepped into the storm. When the fire flickered and the world held its breath, a priestess stepped into the storm.